Hi there, this is Jeff Sklar, and I'm pleased to welcome you to my podcast, The Practice of You. I'm a lawyer in Los Angeles, and I'm fascinated by lawyers who have brought joy and balance to their lives in a career that doesn't always make that easy. In each episode, I'll have a one-on-one conversation with a lawyer who excels professionally, but more importantly is committed to promoting their well-being. Whether athletic, creative, or mindful, there are dozens of ways that lawyers have achieved balance, and we're going to explore that together. You can find this show on all of our major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, sklarkirsch.com. And with that, let's start practicing. Hi there, this is Jeff Sklar. Welcome to The Practice of You, and I'm here with Mike Taitelman of Freedman Taitelman Cooley. Mike, welcome.
Jeff, thank you. Nice to be here.
It's great to have you. Mike and I have been friends for many, many years, and we've worked together. Mike is a litigator. Co-founded his firm, and there have been many occasions where I've acted as the corporate lawyer and he's acted as the litigator, and we have fought shoulder to shoulder trying to win disputes. And with Mike on board, we always win.
Well, it's an honor to be here, Jeff. It's great. We've had some great times working together,
Absolutely.
And this is just another fun event for us.
Absolutely. So maybe Mike, we can talk a little bit about the firm and your practice.
Sure. So I founded the firm in '97 with Brian Freedman. Brian's an entertainment lawyer. We were friends in college at Berkeley. I met Brian on my second day of college.
Oh, wow. That's
and
funny.
We literally became friends that day with some other people. We're all still in touch to this day. And he and I started the firm in '97. I had been with Marshall Grossman, kind of a legendary guy who died not too long ago.
Who I also worked for.
Right. I knew that. And then Brian had been with Bob Franzel, who was a pretty legendary guy back in his time. So Brian had been on his own, and we started the firm right after I got married and been together ever since.
It's a great run, since '97.
It's been a great run. You know, we've had an incredible time together. I always say litigation's drama, and, you know, I don't have drama at home, and I don't have drama with my business partner, which is a blessing.
Wow, that's fantastic. And so we're here today to talk about what you do outside of the firm. And one of the things you do the most is mountain biking, and pretty extreme mountain biking. So I'm excited to talk about this because I've never mountain biked. I do know.
I will be happy to take you out.
Take me. You're going to take us into your world.
I would love to do that.
So maybe let's start at the beginning and talk to me a little bit about when you started mountain biking and how you got into it.
So I moved to LA in '91, and all my friends, like most of my college friends, lived here. And someone had been a mountain biker, and basically we all started getting into it. We all bought bikes, and we would meet every weekend, and we would ride. And it was always, you know, Santa Monica Mountains close by. And it only went on for a few years. We all started to get married, have kids. And then, you know, comes the club soccer and the every weekend kind of thing. Yeah. And so it just didn't happen. And then about 2008, this buddy of mine who I met my first day of college, actually, a guy named Jeff Eisner, he and I decided we were just going to pick it up again. And we got into it, and slowly we've sort of accumulated this incredible group of people. And we ride pretty much every week and then some.
So you have a regular crew you go out there with.
Yes.
How many years? I mean, you guys have all been riding together since 08?
Probably 2010 in earnest.
Wow.
I mean, the group has grown over time, but there's been several of us from the beginning. People come, people go, people get hurt, people age out sometimes, people come in. So it's kind of a cool, loose affiliation. You know, every weekend we may get 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, just depends, you know.
So in the beginning, you say, okay, we pick up a mountain bike and you just get out there on one of the local trails. I know from all the talks we've had, I mean, you do some pretty intense things now. In the beginning, what was it? Just go out, go ride a trail for a little bit? I mean, how did you learn the skills that I know you possess today, which you'll talk about?
So, I mean, you know, we live in LA. We got the Santa Monica Mountains. And at the beginning, it was mostly like Westridge, you know, that area off Mandeville, which is pretty easy. Honestly, it's like the perfect place to learn. But as, you know, time goes on, you want to do more and more. And so you start expanding. And there's a shocking amount of terrain out here.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Not just fire road, big fire road. There's all kinds of interesting stuff out there if you explore.
So was there somebody who taught you some of the skills out there for as you started to come along and handle more extreme terrain, or is this just learned by?
A little of both, a little self-taught, but also over time, as you kind of push yourself.
Yeah.
There's been a friend of mine who lives up in Park City, for example, who's an incredible rider, skier. He's the kind of guy who will very patiently help you do things that you're not comfortable doing.
Got it. Were you scared doing it in the beginning?
No, because the truth is the trails were simple.
Pretty flat.
I take people out who want to ride. I'll take them out to Westridge. It's like it's not flat. But there's no technical aspect of it, and it's a good way to kind of get an introduction.
Got it.
You don't want to like burn people out day one and have them. There's a bit of a barrier to entry and a learning curve, and you just don't want to take people on something that's going to cause them to, hate it, obviously.
So the barrier to entry, I imagine one thing is you got to get a bike.
Got to get a bike.
Right. And obviously you don't want to get hurt the first time you go out there.
Not the first time.
Right.
You definitely are not going to do this sport and not get hurt.
So
it just happens.
So I take it you've been hurt out there before?
Everybody's been hurt. Yeah, everybody.
What's happened to you?
I went over the handlebars last week. My wrist hurts. My foot hurts. My elbow's cut.
You haven't mentioned that when we.
Yeah. Well, this woman we were with, she went over the handlebars and broke her nose. Her face looks like a raccoon right now. But
oh my gosh.
It happens to everybody at some point.
So she went over the handlebars on the same day you went over the handlebars?
Second day after.
A day after.
Yeah.
So you face plant, and then
I didn't face plant.
Okay.
I kind of tucked and rolled, but
your face looks fine to me.
My face is good. Yeah. I tucked and rolled, and kind of ended up okay. No big deal.
How many times have you been injured? Do you think in your career of mountain biking?
5, 10, somewhere in there. A couple laid me up for a week, 2, 3 kind of thing.
So no massive.
No. But I've had friends who've been hurt bad.
So you've seen some people get pretty hurt.
Yeah.
How do you get out of there?
Broken ribs, things like that.
So
torn ligaments.
How do you fish them out of a trail?
Walk.
Are you
Concussions,
kidding? They have to walk their bike out?
Sometimes. My buddy crashed. He was concussed. He no idea where he was. I walked him to this spot. I told him to sit still. I hustled, got the car, took him to the hospital.
Oh boy.
Look, that's not the norm. I don't want to dissuade people from taking up the sport.
You're really selling it here.
Yeah, right, exactly. No, I don't. It's not like that at all. It's the most glorious thing in my life, honestly.
So let's talk about that. Why? Why is this the most glorious thing? Obviously, other than your family.
My family, my kids, of course. But it's the most meditative thing that I do. It's not meditation, but when you're doing it, there's no distractions. There's you don't look at your phone. You don't think about your phone. Nothing comes in your head, generally. You're focused on what's in front of you. And the harder the terrain is, the more you're laser focused to the point where you're like mentally exhausted when it's over.
That's interesting.
And so it's like this sport that has this meditative aspect to it. And then you've got the camaraderie, and the travel that just brings it to a different level.
So the terrain that you'll cover when you're out there, because you do it here in LA, but then as you mentioned, you travel and you go all over the world. I know. What are these conditions like? What is the range?
Everywhere's different. So, for example, Whistler is forest and rock and roots, and Sedona is red rock and sort of clay and dusty terrain. Moab is slick rock.
Yeah, you were just there, right?
Yeah, we were just there last week.
Wow.
Yeah,
what's slick rock?
It's a misnomer because it's not slick.
Oh,
it was named.
I would have already gotten that.
Yeah, it was named that way because I guess the horses, when they had the horseshoes and it would get wet, the horses would slide. But when it's not wet, you could go down a 45-degree angle and the bike just grips the rock like you can't believe. and it's hard to commit to it, to like trust that you're not going to slide down, but it works. And so, I mean, again, it's sort of trial by error or watching other people do it and then just doing it.
So it's, I mean, you really, that's so interesting, learning what rocks will hold you, what rocks are you going to wipe out and just slide down. I've seen pictures, you know, you guys go through pretty dense woods. You're out in big open fields. It's pretty majestic.
Well, it's incredibly majestic. You know, I spend, as you know, some time in Utah in the summer. And Deer Valley and Park City is a really great place to do this sport. There's hundreds of miles of trails that are all accessible without getting in a car.
Yeah.
And a lot of them, maybe the majority, are relatively intermediate and not that difficult. And it's very flowy. And, you know, people who take the sport up, I have a good buddy who took the sport up maybe 4 years ago in his 40s, and he is incredibly competent. So, you know, as I said, there's a bit of a learning curve, but if you're into it, you can master it. Not master it. You can be very competent pretty quickly.
Are you riding every week?
Every week. Yeah. And you know, last week I rode 5 times.
5 times?
Last Saturday, 3 days in Moab, and Saturday.
Oh, right, because you were away.
Yeah.
So, but what does that look like, riding 5 times? That means are you camping out there?
No.
So you're out there in Moab, and you guys, how long is each ride?
You know, it varies. I mean, it's a function of the terrain.
Yeah.
But, you know, 3 hours
per
2.5, 3.
It's pretty good.
3.5. Yeah.
Is it a cardio kind of workout, or is it more like a muscle kind of? I guess what I'm trying to say is it aerobic or anaerobic?
It's extremely aerobic. It's like the ultimate interval training without trying.
Oh, interesting.
Because you're in the, you know, all of a sudden you're going and there's a 50-foot steep up and you just got to punch up it and your heart gets going quick, but it flattens, then it descends and it's up and down, up and down. So it's an interval workout without even trying. So yeah, and then, you know, it's the upper body because you're wrestling rocks. I mean, you're climbing over rocks, roots, you know, all that. So it's a full body experience, really.
So when you go out on a trail, obviously around here, you know all the trails. You know, you have your regular routes and things. But when you go someplace new, do you prepare? Do you look at maps? Do you get data? Or is it just you just roll out there and you have some general idea and you confront the unknown?
No. Not safe. You know, we get guides.
Oh, you have a guide with you.
We'll get a guide if we go to a place we don't know, just because, you know, you just don't know. You don't want to like come on something, get hurt because you're not aware of it.
Okay. So somebody who knows that area. And I remember amongst the many good times we've been in Costa Rica together, and you had a guy. I remember you took a guide out, and
I found some guy on Facebook.
He gave you some not so great bike.
Yeah, we rode up some really steep stuff.
Right.
But he was a good dude, and you know, he knew the terrain, and I trusted him, and it worked out great.
That's
so
great.
Yeah, we get guides, and it's worth it. They know the terrain. Otherwise, you're sitting looking at maps the whole time. I mean, you know, they size you up a little bit. They want to know how good you are. Most people kind of overstate their skill, and I think we try and be very fair about it, and then they take us on great stuff.
That's really great.
Yeah.
And so, I didn't know if there was an element of surprise when you get out there. Do you ever feel when you're out there surprised by the conditions you're confronting? Like, whoa, I didn't realize it was going to be that big or this tough.
Yeah, but you know, most of the time, first of all, walking, there's no shame in walking.
Right. Okay.
I mean, if it doesn't look right or feel right, just walk.
Yeah.
Usually there's a chicken line, we call it, which is the easier path.
Yeah.
Go around something as opposed to over it. Take the chicken line.
Yeah, that's up on Westridge. They have a bunch of those for the hills and the little little road where you can have a nice walk next to it.
True.
Chicken line.
You know, no shame at all.
Well, it's better than getting hurt.
For sure.
Right. I'd rather be a chicken than injured.
You know, the goal is to be out there doing it at this age, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that all of our crew, they're all 40s, 50s, a couple guys in their 60s, and they're all pretty competent. So it's nice.
Is it something that you think people could, obviously, if they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, is it something, if I'm 51, I haven't done it before. Do you think realistically I could take this up?
Sure. I mean, you got to be patient.
Even with my lack of coordination and gangly limbs?
That could be a problem. Actually, I'd encourage you to stick with the pool.
Okay.
Swimming's probably better. You know what? Listen, I think that you can definitely take it up. And you got to start slow, and you have to be patient with yourself because it's just different than anything you're doing currently. Mm-hmm. It's a different kind of shape. You know, it's like if you do anything.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of easy stuff around here that you can sort of test yourself on.
Tell me a little bit about the culture, because this is one of those things where there's certain things people seem to wear, and there's certain vibe amongst the crew and like your friends. And what's it like to be in your group?
You know, these are great guys. I mean, first of all,
there's some women, right? There are participate too.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a loose group. We don't, not all of us socialize all the time, but when we're out there, it's like you're with your family.
Yeah.
The culture is, riding, doing things, testing yourself, drinking beer occasionally.
Yeah.
Even in the morning.
And
just having a good time. And hopefully, we always like to say one piece. That's our goal. Don't end up hurt.
Yeah.
And most of the time we're pretty good at that. But look, we've gone to fun places together.
Like where?
I mean, we've been in Whistler, Sedona, Oregon, Vegas, Idaho, Utah, Colorado.
You take your bikes.
Chile,
you take bikes with you?
Greece. I mean, everywhere. Sometimes we rent. Just depends. So we're planning a trip back to Asheville, North Carolina, with a stop in Bentonville, Arkansas on the way back, because the Walton family decided they were going to make it a bike destination, so they did.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So we'll do something like that this summer or fall kind of thing. So it's just, you see all kinds of scenery, animals, moose, and all these. I mean, it's incredible.
You see a lot of wildlife out there.
You do.
Come across any bear?
No, I have not.
Good. That would not be good.
No. But I've seen some moose with babies, which...
Yeah, they'll charge, right?
They will charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really can't go past them.
I've never seen a moose live. I've seen video of it. It's pretty...
I mean, I've seen them standing on the trail, and you just literally stop, and you're hoping they'll move, and they don't. And then you got to carry your bike and walk up the hill with your bike.
You got to go around.
Absolutely. I mean, you got to respect that.
Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful. And so back to you said it's meditative and the focus. I can certainly understand the focus when you're, riding on a trail next to a huge drop and you're trying, every move really does matter, because, I mean, you could get killed out there.
You could.
Yeah. But the focus is not one driven by fear. The focus is more, it sounds like, you're just you're really zeroed in on that moment of what you're doing and what the surrounding trail's like.
I mean, I think that we all at this stage of our lives, we know the consequences. And so, I mean, if someone's uncomfortable, like I said, they just walk.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
no shame.
None. There was a ton of exposure on this trail last week, like serious exposure 3 feet away.
You showed me a sign.
I mean, it's called the whole enchilada. It's pretty iconic. It's amazing.
This is in Moab.
Yeah. But there's parts that are scary, but you just deal.
I think that sign that was at the front of the trail, and you showed me the picture, it said something like, "Do you feel sick? Is your bike broken?" And maybe there was a third thing that said, I can't remember. And then if
rescue is difficult past this point.
Right. And it said, if the answer is yes to any of these, do not proceed. So I was like, wow, this is kind of intense.
Well, we proceeded, and we had no broken bikes and no problems. So knock on wood.
Are there things about riding? I mean, obviously physically it does, you're in great shape, and that's a great thing. Mentally, I mean, what do you think riding does for you?
I would say, just in terms of like career, for example, I think it balances me out. Being a litigator is tough.
Yeah.
Fighting with people, it's just the amount of mental fortitude, strategy, all of that goes into being a good litigator. A lot of it translates to mountain biking.
How so? Expand on that.
I mean, it's like your equipment, making sure your equipment's perfect. It's like making sure everything's perfect in terms of your exhibits, your arguments, everything you're putting together to submit. Making sure you know what you're going to encounter as you undertake a ride.
Yeah.
Looking at a map, talking to the guide, stopping and they call it sessioning something. You take a look and see, you want to try it, you don't try it. So it does translate, I think. Also, I think it just, makes me a better human, just being able to do something that I love so much, honestly.
And being out there in nature.
Yeah, look at, it's not the same getting on a treadmill midweek or a Peloton for an hour just because I need to get to the office at 7:30.
You mean the video of the trail on the screen doesn't do it for you?
Well, I actually did one this morning with a trail, not a road. And it came up to I was paying attention. It came up to like a hill, and I stopped thinking I was about to go downhill. I really shouldn't have done that. I was like, what? I almost jarred myself that way.
The instinct takes over.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And have you learned anything from mountain biking that you have brought? You've talked about sort of there's some overlap between the two, similarities, but are there lessons that you've learned one way that you've taken the other?
I don't know how much of the law stuff translates. I think the intensity of what we do does translate. Mountain bikers are intense.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's not like surfing. People in surfing are territorial, I hear. I'm not a surfer. Mountain bikers are not territorial. And when we see other people out there, we're happy to see them out there.
Oh,
it's
that's
like,
cool.
Hey, good for you. It was great. So I think it's more of a collective.
Does it ever get too crowded out there?
Never.
So that's never happened.
Never.
One of those kind of, mountain climbing scenarios where you get to the base camp and it's full of
nothing. No. I mean,
stuff.
Even, this trail last week, it's the high season there.
Yeah.
And I'd say in 19 miles, we saw 8 bikers, 10 bikers maybe.
That's pretty
besides
cool.
us, and we were 6.
Do you have like one of those transponder things? Like, or you don't need that? So
no,
it's not like you're that deep out in the woods.
I mean, you're with other people, first of all. I mean, you don't have a signal, but there's always, GPS.
Not a lot of risk.
No.
What's the scariest thing that's happened out there?
I mean,
for you,
probably crashing up in Whistler on some rock thing that I probably shouldn't have been on. But I mean, none of it's all that scary.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's nothing that's going to stop you from
once
doing
you hit the ground and you realize you're pretty much okay, it's not a big deal. I mean, you got to get back on a ride out anyway. So,
I guess similar question: what's the most intense topography that you've ever ridden? Is there a certain trail or a certain place that stands out amongst all the places you've gone?
I would say we were in Greece last summer and rode on some island, and it was not really a trail. Yeah. It was like a goat track. And
it's just a what?
Like a narrow, barely a goat path.
Oh, wow.
And it was just rocky and relentless.
Really?
Yeah, and steep. And so, it took a ton of concentration.
Wow.
And so that, and then some of the stuff up in Moab is pretty gnarly.
And are you doing jumps and things too?
Not really jumps. There's people who ride and bike. There's like a whole genre of like people who take chairlifts up and then ride down, like inside ski parks. Like Whistler has a ski park that's a bike park that's huge. I mean, we don't take chairlifts. We climb. We want the exercise.
So you'll ride up the mountain and then come back down.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a lot of up, down. And so,
is it real steep, like steep?
It can be, of course. I mean, our usual rides, we're talking 2,000 to 3,500 of elevation in a ride.
But how do you ride a bike up a super steep hill? That doesn't seem like physics would allow it.
I mean, a little bit of technique, a great granny gear.
Yeah. A great what?
Granny gear, they call it.
Is that like the lowest gear where your wheels just...
The easiest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Granny gear. That's the one I would stay in. It seems kind of creative in a way. When you're looking at the trail, you're riding on the trail, but I saw some pictures where you're coming down some things that have no trail on them. There's these big rock faces and angles and things, and It almost reminds me of somebody who's a climber.
Yeah.
It has that kind of like you have to decide what route you're going to take down. And
so it's interesting. So in Utah, and where the rock is, they paint little dots or lines on the rock because there's no trail. And so that's the sort of path, but you can go anywhere you want. So you can kind of venture off or you can follow the lines.
Interesting.
And, yeah.
Do you follow the lines?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, you can do whatever you want. Just don't get lost.
Yeah.
But no, it's you know what? I've done some of these rides here in LA 100 times. And honestly, and we say it was just as good the 100th time as the first.
And what makes
especially
it
right
good
now
is...
Well, right now it's gorgeous out there.
Yeah.
It looks like Hawaii in some parts of like Malibu right now.
Wow.
Creeks are flowing, not as much. I mean, it's like lush. It's incredible out there. And I think even if you're hiking, you're not going to see a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because, you're not going to hike 20 miles.
Yeah. So I guess when you get out there, you're going 3 hours. I mean, you cover some real mileage.
Yeah, we do. We do.
And so how do you feel? You mentioned it before that when you get done, you feel mentally exhausted. I would expect there to be some sort of really a sense of accomplishment on some of these trails.
For sure.
I mean,
not some of the stuff around here because we just do it so
all the
often.
time.
But,
right.
Going on these trips and doing things we've never done and knowing we're doing things that are at our limit.
Yeah.
Or even maybe beyond at points. Yeah, there's a huge sense of accomplishment. And we all get very psyched about it. And we cheer each other on. If someone makes something, we're psyched for them. There's no jealousy or competition. It's not a team sport. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're doing your thing.
Yeah. The camaraderie sounds like it's really important.
It's the best. It really is the best.
Because that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think as you get older, there's not that many sort of group things you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe you play softball or something, but there's not team sports really anymore. I used to play basketball every week. That's over. But this is kind of a...
Why is that over? Just because everyone's getting hurt and stuff?
We played the February Sunday before COVID in February.
Yeah.
And then, didn't play and everybody just kind of aged out and no one wanted to go back and do it.
Yeah. Well, this is a whole other level. I mean, you're out there.
Yeah, it's different, but it's something we do together and it's great.
So your family, does anybody else ride?
I mean, I've taken my son a couple times.
Yeah.
He's the kind of kid who, if he's not good at something, the first time he does it, he doesn't want to do it. Like skiing, And
that's not the nature of this. The nature of this is most people probably wouldn't be great at this the first time.
Right. You have to be patient. So he's not. So he didn't love it.
Yeah.
But now he regrets not skiing because I took him a few times and he was like complaining. So I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Now he wants to ski. So it's just, you got to be patient.
Was your family ever concerned about these rides that you're doing or no?
No, I think my wife knows where the life insurance is and all is well, Just counts her.
That's funny. Tell me a little bit more about first of all, how do you get away? I mean, I think one thing that all lawyers contend with, and especially litigators, because you guys to some extent are more tied to being in a geographic region for court and things like that. How have you found the ability to balance getting out there and not just locally, but going on these incredible trips to ride with the work? Because it's a real challenge.
It is. It is. I mean, the beauty of where we live, it's all right here. So, in the summertime when the days get long, like now, I mean, you can go out at 6 o'clock and still ride. So it's not really interrupting anything.
Yeah.
And, even some of these trips, it's like you can be gone 2 nights and ride 3 days. I mean, 3 consecutive days is a lot.
Yeah.
By the time day 3 is over, you're beat up. So it's less time than you think, but every moment feels longer just because you're having so much fun. It's so joyous. So you're absorbing it all. And then I think you come back recharged.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sets you up to then come back and maybe in the evening do what you've got to do. That's the challenge for I think a lot of people is that, it's one of those things where for example, I don't save my workouts till the end of the day, because I know if I wait till the end of the day for my workout, my work for the office, I'll just not go work out. I'll say, okay, I'm going to finish my work, and now I just want to go home and eat dinner, right? I've got to blast it out in the morning and get my workout done then. But I envy people that are evening people and can go get a hard workout.
Yeah, I'm like you. I mean, I'm morning,
Yeah.
definitely. But again, sort of when the days are long and you can get out there at sunset, dusk, it's really pretty. So it kind of clears your head at the end of a day anyway. And you only go a couple hours, you're done. I mean, it's great.
Do you feel, some of your days I expect are pretty intense with work. In fact, I've lived many intense days next to you on matters. When you get on the bike, do you still have stuff in your mind about work, or when does work start to fade away?
I mean, when I get on, maybe, I think probably after the first 3 pedal strokes, it's gone.
Wow.
You cannot be distracted doing the sport. I mean, whatever you have going on in your life will naturally fade away if you're actually really doing this, because you need the focus. Mm-hmm. So it really does allow for time for yourself,
Yeah.
I mean, it really is time for yourself.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. So if you're with a group of 8 people, 9 people, and you're riding for 3 hours, you're all in a line, I imagine. I mean, it's a lot of that time you're probably quiet, meaning not talking.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially if it's technical or steep. It's not the kind of a lot of the terrain is not conducive to like having a conversation.
Right.
I mean, you're single file, narrow, going over things, going down things. You need to kind of focus. So there's a lot of time where there's no conversation. And then, you end up on a fire road or something for a while, and then you talk.
Right. Then you can line up next to each other a little bit in a row.
Or you take a break,
It sounds very peaceful.
Incredibly peaceful.
It's not all like X Games. Some of it is just sort of peaceful, and the colors and the sounds of birds and letting your mind air out.
Exactly. Like you can go and ride in the fall, and it's a completely different experience. It's colors and chase that whole palette, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Have you turned anybody else onto this?
Lots of people. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, some people, like my buddy who I was saying who, picked it up a few years ago.
Yeah.
He never even thought about it. Now he's hooked.
See, I could be your next prodigy.
I will take you out anytime.
I will be your Padawan.
I will take you out to squeeze you on a large size bike instead of an XL,
reference.
but you'll be good.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
When you talk, obviously this show is predominantly talking to lawyers. There's other people who listen to it, but about things that you and I and other people do for their well-being. Why do you think this has been important for you?
I think that everybody's got to have their own life. I'm not saying as opposed to, but in addition to their family life, their work life. You always have to have your own life. And, if you're passionate about something, I don't care if it's gardening, painting, cooking, whatever it is, if that brings you joy, it's going to make you a better lawyer at the end of the day. So this, for me, is the principal thing for sure. That's not the only thing. Yeah. But definitely the principal thing.
Now, you also do adaptations of this. I understand that you like hella biking.
We have gone heli biking, yes.
That's pretty intense.
It is pretty fun.
So you want to talk about what that is? Help somebody visualize it?
Basically, imagine a helicopter with 2 baskets on the right where you can put bikes, and they drop you, and you can just ride from there.
They drop you at the top of a mountain.
Top, middle, wherever, anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
On a mountain.
Uh-huh.
Then you ride down.
It's like heli skiing.
A mountain that requires a helicopter to get up to where you want to go.
Or, someone who has just ridiculous endurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's those are really special times. I mean, we've done that only a few times, but it's incredible.
Yeah. Now and the great thing about Los Angeles, like you said, is, and by the way, not growing up here, I remember the first time, literally when right after I moved here, I said, wow, there's mountains here.
Me too. I grew up like you in the
Yeah, we
Midwest.
were both from the Midwest.
Yeah.
I had no idea this place had mountains.
You know, for all the shit people say about LA,
It's gorgeous.
a lot of places have beach.
Yeah.
Very few places have mountains like this
Yeah.
and beach.
Yeah.
I mean,
5 minutes from my house, I could be in the mountains.
These mountains are a treasure.
Yeah.
And I've been all over them, all the way up to Ventura. I mean, we're out there every weekend for 12, 13, 14 years at this point.
Yeah.
And there's just so much cool stuff out there.
Yeah, it's really something that they had the foresight, whoever they is, I'm not sure, the planners, to save all of that area.
No doubt. A lot of it's state park.
Yeah.
Topanga State Park encompasses a lot of the stuff around here.
Yeah.
And then there's been other conservation things. Like the Backbone Trail as an example. I mean, people who are listening, you don't need to bike to go out there in Malibu. It's like incredible. There's probably 25 miles of single track through these stream beds, up and down, all this incredible terrain. I mean, it's beautiful. Beautiful to hike too.
Has there ever been a time that you were not up for going?
No. Honestly, no. Sick?
Like not in the right headspace or something?
No, not really, no.
That's so interesting to me.
I look so forward to Saturday mornings. That's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
I just really don't like missing it ever. And,
that says
the
a
text
lot.
goes out on a Friday, who's in, and then, someone throws out a ride. We all agree. Boom, we're out there. I mean,
I guess everyone has to agree where the heck you're going to go.
There's no, there's no debates usually.
Yeah. But that's really something, because you think of the gym, or I can certainly with my swimming or whatever. It's very hard to find something that every time you're down to go.
This is something that is exactly what it's like.
How do you? Are there? I imagine though you have to take your body as you find it on a particular day.
Yeah, I mean,
some days you may be up for something really aggressive, and other days you may say, "Oh, okay, today I'm going to be, pull back a little bit." Or does that happen? I don't want to project on you. I know for me it does.
Yeah, it does for sure. I mean, you have to. Some days you don't have it. You feel like you're going to be strong, and you're not. But at the end of the day, you finish. It's not like
But that's life anyway. Right?
That's life anyway. Sometimes you're in the front, sometimes you're in the back.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Sometimes you're walking on the chicken path.
Chicken line.
Chicken line. What?
No, you ride the chicken line, you walk the non-chicken line.
Okay. That's pretty great. Let me ask you this. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think would be important to mention, either about your mountain biking or how it relates to your career and what it's done for you, or anything else?
Yeah, I mean, no, not much more than what we've talked about. I would say that if someone has an interest in doing it, this is the perfect place to do it.
Yeah.
You really can pick it up pretty easy. There's easy stuff you can start on, and it's not, as I said, there's a bit of a learning curve, but you can get there quick.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
I'm super excited to go get a bike and try to ride out there with you.
You don't have to get one. I'll take you out. I got bikes.
Fantastic.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks a lot.
All right, man.
Thanks for joining us today on The Practice of You, hosted by me, Jeff Sklar. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, sklarkirsch.com. I really appreciate your positive reviews, comments, and sharing this show with others. Until next time, enjoy the present moment and don't forget to practice you. This podcast is considered attorney advertising by the California State Bar. The discussions in this podcast do not constitute professional advice of any kind, including without limitation, medical, legal, or business. And you are advised to consult with your own physicians, lawyers, and other advisors before undertaking any activities discussed in this podcast.